Hello and welcome everybody. Today One Piece chapter 1009 is out, and this will be my kind of initial thoughts and reactions / review of the chapter. So if you haven't checked that out, I suggest you do so before we get into this, because then this is just a video full of spoilers for you. So now that that is settled, let's get into it. Let's talk about everything that happened. So starting us off, this chapter, we kind of move on to something which, is foreseeable, but, no one really thought. Actually, first, before we get into that, let's just look at the covers of this chapter, right? One with Luffy on the cover of Weekly Shonen Jump, looking very great with the whole flower blossoms, Sakura there. Very nice with the One Piece coming round in the pink. Oof. Looking great. And then the other one with the double spread of the Straw Hats in, I think, Ringo, chilling together. This is the kind of spread I expect to see, at the end of the arc when they're done, they're just chilling, they're having fun. You've got Tama's teapot Tanuki down there, and then we've got these guys putting straw hats on the statues, and then Tama takes Luffy's straw hat to put on the final statue, and everyone's just having a great time. Really great. I mean, of course, you could make any kind of speculation you want off of this image, but at the end of the day, I think it's just a great image. Lovely to see. So, the chapter, right? First thing we come to is Orochi. Orochi kind of meets the Scabbards, and it's like, it's very clear that none of them expected to run into each other. It's like these Scabbards forgot that Orochi exists, even though Orochi is the one who kind of ruined Wano. Like, the fact that, everyone's just been so focused on Kaido, it's like these guys forgot that Orochi exists, which is very interesting because they didn't even know that Orochi died the first time, that Kaido cut off Orochi's head the first time. So the fact that they forgot about it means that they knew he was alive, they just didn't care enough to even remember that this guy exists. So I think that part's a little bit interesting. And I mean, of course, it's been mentioned that Kaido is the main guy, but the fact that they forgot he exists, they knew they thought he was alive, but they just forgot that this guy exists, right? Now, I do think the words and the events of this interaction are very interesting, right? Because at the end of this interaction, these 7 Scabbards, right? They're missing Inuarashi and Ashura Doji, so there's 7 of them, should be. They cut off a head each, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe one cuts off 2 or something like that. But we know, according to the legends and the myths, that the Yamata no Orochi has 8 heads. Wait, let me see. Do we have an image where we can actually count all the heads? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 in this panel. 6th one over here, that's probably 7. Do we have an 8th one here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the panel cuts. Okay, so I'm assuming there's still 8 heads. At first I thought there were 7 heads, and that, if the Scabbards cut 1 each, that's like one of the other 7 heads, so he will die completely. But after the events of this chapter, I don't think that is true, because I don't think he's going down that soon. But at the same time, like, the words that Orochi uses to describe the fact that they did know that, what happened between Kaido and Orochi is that he said that you already met your demise once. So he essentially already died once today. Those are the exact words that, what's his name? What's this guy's name? Yeah, that's the words that Fukurokuju uses. Anyway. So for me, it brings an interesting dimension into his route, right? Is it such a thing where you have to cut off all 8 heads for him to die? Did the Scabbards cut off all 8 heads? Because there's 7 of them, so it's entirely possible that they only cut off 7 of the heads, because there's only 7 of them. Or maybe someone cut 2 heads off, and so they cut off all 8 heads. But, I mean, assuming that they cut off 7, then a logical conclusion that we could draw is that, if he's not dead, then what happens is that as long as 1 head survives, all of the heads will revive again, right? So when Kaido cut off 1 head, there was still 7, so he came back. These guys, there were 8 heads now, they cut off 7, 1 survived, so he'll come back with all his heads again. So I don't think that Orochi's done just yet. There's still going to be more, but it seems like everyone's just tossing this guy to the side. I mean, honestly, the way the Scabbards deal with him here, it seems like even one of the scabbards would have been enough in their injured shape. One of the scabbards would have been enough. So for those people who are getting hyped against about Momo versus Orochi, this is, clear proof that it wouldn't be too crazy for Momo, because even these battered, destroyed scabbards are coming back and one-shotting Orochi, essentially. So 8-year-old Momonosuke with Kaido's fruit it's not the craziest thing to think that this kid can come back and somehow manage to do damage, maybe with Hiyori and the scabbard against Orochi. Now, like I said, that's only if they cut off 7 of the heads. If they cut off all 8, maybe his devil fruit then works in a way in which cutting off his head is not the way to kill him, right? That's maybe his fruit. That's the thing about his fruit. If you just try to cut off his head, you won't kill him like that. Maybe you have to stab him in the heart. Maybe something like that. Vampires, they're very particular in the way you kill them. Similar thing with Orochi. Then we move on to the whole Raizo versus Fukurokuju. It seems like each of the scabbards is falling away to fight an important character in this arc, a big name, and it makes sense that Raizo fight Fukurokuju, the Oniwa Banshu relationship. They even mentioned this before, and they say something as interesting as Jack and Inuarashi, that you guys are both following dead fools. So I think that's interesting. I want to see Fukurokuju and his motivations. Like, what's motivating him to keep following a guy who's trying to destroy the country? But anyway, moving on, we finally get back to the rooftop. Oh my days, this is so exciting, right? We first have the combined attack of Big Mom and Kaido on the rooftop as they are battling, and it is absolute bonkers. Like this attack, the fact that Zoro could even, not even block it fully. He just kind of bought slight amount of time, which helped them kind of run away, so that these guys could run. Now, of course, I've always wanted, like, guys, if you know me, I've always wanted to see Zoro go up against the Ikoku Sovereignty. Now, it's unfortunate that it was a combined attack, so obviously Zoro's not going to be able to block that as a swordsman or anything like that. So this is the closest I feel that I'm going to get to seeing Zoro versus Big Mom's Ikoku Sovereignty, as a swordsman technique, right? I know it's not exactly a slicing technique, but as a swordsman technique, it's the closest I feel like I'm going to see. But anyway, it was great. It was beautiful. It was really moving. I mean, I like the way Kid is looking right now. He's gone away from the whole I forgot the name of that move, that form that he had. Punk Gibson, Punk Rotten, right? I think it was Punk Rotten, right? Where he has the big form. Now he's come with the 2 really big arms, one with the harpoons and the other one with, the arm, which I think looks really good. He can just kind of change forms in and out. I think it also shows that, against Kaido and Big Mom, it's not sustainable to have such a big form like that. This one that's smaller is probably more versatile. He probably has stuff, as we've seen in this chapter, probably lying around and he's picking it up as he goes, which I think is a really awesome way to fight, right? For those of you who've watched, Unlimited Blade Works, you know what I mean, where you have, a bunch of weapons lying around and you're picking them up one by one, fighting with them. So yeah, I think that's a very cool way to fight. Again, we see in this chapter the whole thing of Onigashima, and I can't help but see that sword over there. So will that sword come into play? I can't help but ask these questions. I just can't help but do so. Anyway, we then get to the next part of this where Luffy kind of sees that Zoro got really battered. I wouldn't say he gets angry, but he gets fired up and he goes into attack Kaido. And then Kaido kind of just dodges, and then Luffy's like feeling happy about himself, like he's like, hey, why are you dodging? Are you afraid of getting hurt, bro? And then Kaido just like, I don't care. Like, I feel like Kaido's just like, I don't care. I'm going to dodge. If it's going to hurt me, I'm going to dodge it. And then he just smacks Luffy into the thing. Now, I think one thing I missed before was this whole idea with the combined attack, which I thought was really great on Oda's part, is the fact that they were talking about it between themselves. And so when they started to swing, before they started to swing, actually, Luffy kind of knew, with the future sight, that, hey, they're going to do something. And then it's only later on, just before the attack, that Zoro foresaw it with his observation haki, what was coming, right? So it's kind of like you can see that Luffy's observation haki is clearly on a different level to Zoro, because Luffy saw it before they even swung, like, you know, prepared to swing what was going to happen. Zoro only saw it later on, just before the attack happened. So Luffy's haki is clearly on a different level. I just love that little, you know, display of that fact that Luffy can see it in advance, because sometimes you feel like, yeah, but like it seems all the characters have the same observation haki, even though some people trained and were shown to have special stuff. You know, it seems like everyone's on the same level, but no, clearly Luffy's on a different level here, because, you know, Oda just kind of showed that. Anyway, moving back to what I was talking about, another thing I like about this chapter, I don't know, maybe it's the comparisons between the two characters, and maybe Oda feels the similar way with these two characters. But one, Kaido looks like a fish. I'm not gonna lie, the mustache now looks like whiskers. Maybe it's the scales, but it looks like whiskers. He looks like a fish, or some catfish. Is that right? I don't know what catfish look like, but catfish, right? The whiskers plus the fish skin, catfish. And then what I was going to say about the comparisons really is about Kaido and Zoro, right? These two, there's just something about their attacks. Maybe someone who is more versed in some of these topics can explain them to us, can explain them to me, or you can point me in the direction of someone who understands this a bit more. But about the naming scheme involved in Kaido's attacks, because I feel a very great resemblance between Zoro and Kaido's attacks, from the whole, you know, first we had that chapter with the Tatsumakis, right, where Kaido did a Tatsumaki, then Zoro did a Tatsumaki, then Kaido did another Tatsumaki, right? Okay, of course, different variations, but Tatsumaki at the end of the day. And now in this one, we have something where Kaido goes 3 realms, right? Ragnarok. That's the name here, at least. I don't know if the official changed it, but he does something like that. And, you know, we've seen Zoro go, you know, Zoro later on says 6 paths, and then he says the attack, but we've seen Zoro talk about realms and seas and heavens and earth, so it feels very much up Zoro's alley, which kind of brings me back to the whole Zoro, you know, if Zoro had a devil fruit, it would be Kaido's devil fruit, so it brings me back to that kind of discussion. So I think that's very great. I don't know, I like the comparisons. Maybe, you know, at some point where Zoro gets his big dub against Kaido, we'll see them go at it, you know, with similarly named attacks. And to be honest, now I'm getting more excited for that. More than Luffy versus Kaido, I'm getting more excited for Zoro versus Kaido right now, simply because of the naming scheme involved here. But this 3 realms is absolutely you do not want to get hit with this. I feel like you would probably rather get hit with a Thunder Bagua than the Ragnarok, because this Ragnarok is absolutely insane. I don't know if he jumped or if he's flying, because I mentioned, I think in a tweet, that now, because Kaido can normally fly, right? Now that he's in the hybrid, can he still fly? Is it going to be something like the Skywalk from CP9 or Sanji Skywalk, in which he's kind of flying, but, you know, it's kind of like clouds beneath his feet, and he's kind of like hopping on the clouds to jump in the air. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but, you know, that's about him just in the air. But, you know, the whole aspect here, Kaido of course uses lightning, but I'm going to assume this is kind of like haki lightning, because while he's spinning it, it does look like lightning in the air, but when he lands it, it looks like haki on the ground. So this seems way more devastating than the Thunder Bagua, and you do not want to be there when this thing hits. Now, we don't know what... Ooh, actually, I can see Luffy's legs. So I don't know what happened to Luffy, yeah. He clearly got hit with this, with full force. Maybe Luffy's out for a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case based on what happens next in this chapter. But, you know, maybe seeing Luffy finally make use of that, you know, finally get clear use of that, like undoubtedly clear use of that advanced haki would be great in this moment, because if not, Luffy's going to be out for a while. Which still wouldn't be surprising based on what happens next with Big Mom. So these guys kind of hatch a plan. I'm not even sure when these guys hatched this plan, because these guys just said, we don't know how we're going to take these guys out. Law mentioned that their haki is too strong for him to just do shambles or something like that, right? So Kid, like I was saying, he gets the scrap and makes a box, right, to kind of right, and it's a great box, right, because I think it's actually conducting, not insulating, right? So it's kind of like Zeus's attacks are actually focused on the box instead of getting outside the box. Makes sense. And they kind of trap Zeus in there, so they take away Zeus, and then all of a sudden Zoro and Killer go in, and Killer's like, "Are you ready?" Zoro's like, "Bro, I've got no choice. We gotta do this." So they both go in, and Zoro kind of goes for Prometheus, Killer goes for Napoleon, and they take them away, right? Zoro keeps cutting Prometheus, like I said, with the crossroad of six paths, flame slice crossroad of six paths. I'm not sure what the official is going to name it. We'll wait for the proper names before we stick to these and get lost in our wrong stuff. And Killer goes to take care of Napoleon. Of course, at the end of the day, they kind of knock Big Mom off, and she falls off Onigashima. So, two things I like about this is the fact that one, Kid just got hit. Kid, face point blank, got hit by Big Mom in the face, and that did not faze him, right? This is great to see from characters who are going up against Yonko, characters who we expect to be, leading the next generation or whatever. This is great to see. Like the fact that they can get hit in the face by Yonko, and that's not it. They just keep going, right? It's kind of like giving us hype, especially for Kid, but giving us hype nonetheless that these guys can go toe to toe, because Kid is just like, that's not it, bro. You hit me, but you just punched me, bro. It's not the end of the world for me. So that in itself, I love that. I love to see that. Which also kind of give me hope for Luffy. But bro, Luffy and tanking Kaido's attacks hasn't been so great so far as a track record. So I'm still not going to just assume whatever I want. But now that Big Mom's gone, if Luffy's, out of it for a bit, it's fine, because then it's kind of like the four of them versus Kaido, even though the four of them are really tired and really hanging on there somehow. The four of them versus Kaido is fine while Luffy kind of recuperates and Big Mom's kind of just there. Now the homies may have to go down to help Big Mom, but at the same time, I don't think Big Mom's out, because we know we're near the Flower Capital, so she probably landed on the ground. Now this may again be another way in which people down there are saved, because if Big Mom lands, right, and I don't know, maybe someone recognizes Big Mom, or actually if Big Mom just lands, full stop, everyone will look up and see that Onigashima is right above them, and that will cause a major panic. If that does not cause a panic, then the people in the capital deserve to die. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, these guys in the capital are dumb. Right, that has to cause a major panic or people running away, right? Because that would make sense as a natural way instead of some kind of, for lack of better words, I'm just gonna go with the more child-friendly way of saying some nonsense way in the end of, someone kind of saving them, right? Because honestly, if we have some kind of Momo lifts Onigashima or some kind of other nonsense thing, right, it's gonna feel like a bit like, Caribou coming to also save everyone and storing them inside his swamp kind of thing. So, Big Mom falling and then everyone panicking and starting to run away because of that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I could see something like that happening. Anyway, this brings us to the end of the chapter. The next chapter, it seems that we are going to go away from the rooftop again, I think. I don't think we're staying here just yet. We've kind of just come to an important point in this fight and in this interaction. So I think we're moving away once again. So I hope to see maybe someone like Jinbei, or something going on with Perospero and Marco, or even Frankie and Sasaki. Those are the most interesting ones I think Oda can turn to right now. I'm not saying that anything else is not interesting, but relatively less interesting. So those are the best ones, I think, to focus the chapter around, and then get a little bit of everything else going on. But let me know how you guys feel. Let me know what you guys think about the whole Orochi situation. Is he dead? Is he alive? How does this power work? His heads have been cut off how many times now? And Fukurokuji himself has even said that Orochi died already once before today. So how do you guys feel about this? Of course, if the official changes anything, that of course changes, how we view stuff. But for now, tell me what you guys think. All that down in the comment section down below. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you when the next chapter comes out.